Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace. I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today we are making over some thrifted finds as usual, but they were between $1, $2. One of the finds was even free. So pretty cheap makeovers today that are getting a very unique aged finish. I am super excited for y'all to see one of the finishes. I think it's Project 2. Love, love, love it. We're going to go ahead and get started. Y'all let me know what you think. Let's get into it. Hey friends, let's get started with our first project, which was inspired by Jonathan Mark Mendez with his IOD Easter Basket Challenge, I believe is the name of it. I picked up this bird cage situation for a couple dollars at the thrift store, and you could see it had a little bit of damage. The lid on it, that piece that was broke, it needed to be fixed or the lid would pop off. So I'm going to use the 2-component JB Weld. I'm going to mix those 2 equal parts together until it becomes one solid color. And I'm going to use a popsicle stick to really lather it up there. It is fine if this piece looks a little bit bigger than the other joints. We can just make that an accent on the piece. I'm going to use a piece of florist wire, twisting it around kind of in an X shape, and then taking a pair of needle nose pliers to really secure it and twist it tight on the back side, and then I will just cut the excess off. This product does take about 24 hours to dry, so I just let it sit, and then the next day I came outside and I gave it one nice coat of this metallic gold spray paint. I let that dry, and now we need to create a solid base for this piece. So I had this piece of scrap cardboard. I'm sure it came out of a thrifted frame I made over. I'm going to use the bottom of the cage to make a template and cut that out with an X-Acto knife. This was a thicker piece of material, so I did have to go over it a few good times before it was able to cut through. As you can see, I am going a little bit inside that line because we're going to be adding stuff to this. I'm going to test that, make sure it fits well, and it does, but the bottom just doesn't look pretty to me. So I grabbed out this gorgeous green velvet ribbon. I thrifted this probably 2 years ago, and I'm still using it. I called it ribbon. I meant fabric, duh. I cut that out to size, and I'm going to use some spray adhesive to adhere this to the bottom of our new base. On the opposite side, we are going to be adding some floral foam. So I'm going to use my little putty knife to cut that to size. I just want to make a little mound in the center with the sides a little bit like shorter, I guess. And then I'm going to hot glue those into place. We are going to jump back to this base in just a second. Here are some options. These are from the IOD mold toadstool. I picked up these mushrooms from Dollar Tree, this one from Dollar Tree, this one came from Dollar General, and this pack came from Hobby Lobby. These are some good options if you're going to try to recreate this. But I'm going to go with Jonathan's route and create my own using some using some air dry clay that I thrifted. So this was some cheap air dry clay, and you could tell from its sticky texture. But we're going to make it work. I think I paid $3 for this large pack of air dry clay. I am just going to kind of let you watch here. I'm creating the stems by kind of rolling the clay out to create like a snake shape, and I'm just going to cut different sizes. And then I'm going to grab a piece or chunk of clay and start molding my mushroom tops, different shapes and different sizes depending on just what I'm looking for. I want some variety in our little display. So I'm just going to play around and have fun. I used some of his techniques, adding the texture along the underneath side of the mushroom top and adding some texture to the stalks as well. I added that little piece that sometimes wraps around the top of the mushroom. Just watch and enjoy this little part. Once I had my mushrooms looking the way I like them, I let them fully dry. And then the next day, I came in and started hot gluing all of my pieces together. And that little mound of hot glue really added the perfect detail underneath the mushroom. If you know what I'm talking about, I have no idea what it's called. But I'm going to glue all these mushroom pieces and parts together. And then now we're going to start painting. First, I'm going to come in with a dark glaze. This is raw clay at this point. So I'm going to work mushroom at a time. I'm going to apply the glaze and then come in with a baby wipe and pull the majority of that glaze back off. And that's just going to leave some darkness into all the little nooks and crannies of the texture we created with our X-Acto knife and our little poking tool. I love how these came out, but I did want to add some color. I'm not a fan of red, but when it comes to mushrooms, I feel like it's just a rule. You got to have some red mushrooms, right? So I used some watered down red Dixie Belle paint and a baby wipe because I don't want to paint the whole thing red. I just want there to be, how it's looking right now, just a hint of red. I did not paint all of them, just a few. And then I'm going to take these Dollar Tree tiny little baby mushrooms and use the actual red paint, not the watered down one, but the full strength red paint, and give these a coat. And I did a little bundle of 6, I believe. As those are drying, we're going to jump back over to our base and we're going to add some Spanish moss. So I'm going to use some hot glue and very carefully, so we don't burn ourselves, we are going to get that floral foam covered up all the way to the edges. Now it's time to start placing our mushrooms. As you can see, I added some wire in these, and I'm going to show you how I did that in just a second. But I went ahead and stuck my first mushroom into place with some hot glue, of course. And here is how I created a hole in dry, small, detailed air dry clay. I hand drilled with a small drill bit. I just very carefully went in the direction the drill bit goes and then came back out, went back in, came back out, and just made enough room where I could get a piece of wire in there. I want this project to last. Gluing these mushrooms down alone, I feel like all you're going to have to do is a bump it one good time and the mushrooms are going to topple over since that air dry clay up top is so heavy on some of them. So I thought this was a good step. I can't remember if Jonathan did that in his project or not. So I'm just going to get these in place, play around with them. I move some of them sometimes until I just like the way it looks. Now we need to add a bit of color. It's looking a little bland, right? So I grabbed out some Spanish moss, no, reindeer moss. There's a green fluffy stuff. This is my favorite moss. It is gorgeous. And we're going to hot glue that in just some random spaces Being careful we do not burn ourselves, especially working with this kind of hot glue gun I got. Man, it is dangerous. So once we get the majority of the work done, we're going to slide this piece into place just to make sure we're not overdoing it with the moss. And it took a little maneuvering, but we got it down there. Once in place, now we can add some extra fluff and overflowing goodness of some more reindeer moss, especially around that bottom edge. I just kind of pictured it peeking through the cage. So I'm going to use my hot glue to secure that moss all the way around that bottom edge. Next, it needed some height to it. It needed something that would come all the way to the top, and I found this piece of fern-looking greenery in my stash. I've probably had this for 2 years, and it was the perfect touch. I just cut some of the picks off of the larger pick, and I placed 3 into our little display. I went to my mama's house. I told her I need a stick, and she gave me a whole bunch of them. She said, here, pick what you want, and I picked out this little fella right here. We're going to get him into place, play around with him, and we'll get this stick glued down. And then while Mama was at Hobby Lobby, I told her to find some butterflies, and this is what she came back with. They are gorgeous. I'm going to go with one of the larger ones. I'm going to clip the piece of wire it comes with and just use a bit of hot glue on the back of the center part, and we're going to glue that to our stick. And that is all for this project. Oh my goodness. I love this. If y'all don't know me by now, I love, love, love mushrooms like so much. I don't know why, honestly. It's just a huge, I don't even know. I just love them, okay? I love them. So this project really, really spoke to me. Thank you. I am so incredibly thankful for the inspiration on this piece from Jonathan Mark Mendez. He is just so great. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I priced it for $33. Here is the inspiration for our next project. We're going for that finish. Here is my thrifted find that we're working on. I picked this up for $1 or $2 at a thrift store. It's a very unique bird cage trinket shelf situation. We're going to get it dusted off and cleaned well, and then I'm going to take it outside and just prime it with a coat of black spray paint. I don't even really know why I did this step, but I did. Maybe because the inside was a bit dirty and it wouldn't come off. I don't know. Either way, I primed it in black spray paint, just one coat, and I let that dry thoroughly. And then we're going to come in with some cashmere IOD, oh my goodness, Bailey, some fusion mineral paint, and this is going to be just another layer. We have several layers on this piece. We're going to give this our first coat, just a nice messy coat, not overthinking it here, inside and out. Now, when it comes to the second coat, I grabbed some salt wash. I'm going to add some of that same paint we just put on, mix that together well, but not mix it together, but don't mix it together well. You still want some of those little chunks in it. Then I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm just going to do what I'm doing here, kind of adding purposely some brush strokes. I'm not really dabbing and pouncing like I usually do whenever I use salt wash. I'm just adding a different kind of texture. I'm going to do this wherever I feel like I need to do it, just to add some more coverage. Once that's dry, I took it outside and gave it 2 coats of shellac. That's just going to seal that paint up really nicely before we come in with some milk paint. This is another layer. We're adding Birdie Sweet Pickins milk paint. I did 2 scoops of powder with 1 scoop of water. I'm going to mix that together well until there's no more clumps in it. And I'm going to set it to the side and let it thicken up. As that milk paint is thickening, I'm going to come in with my beeswax bar. I'm going to hit those edges, around those hinges, around the little bars, the corners, high areas, and a few flat areas as well. And then we're going to come in and add our milk paint color. This is such a pretty blue color. I love it. We are going to work section at a time because we are going to be painting it on and then wiping some of it off. So we do not need this product to dry on us, and it does dry pretty quick. So we need to work in sections. Once I get the area done, I'm going to come in with a baby wipe and start dabbing away some excess paint. I'm going to go to my next section and do the exact same thing with the baby wipe and just play around really. I'm making sure I am dabbing the product away, not wiping, because that will give it a texture I'm not looking for. I always dry in between milk paint layers with my heat gun. Really, if it's not furniture, any kind of paint I work with, I dry with my heat gun because I am very impatient, but especially with milk paint. For our second layer of birdie, I'm only going to go in the middle of the surface. I'm not doing another full coat. I'm just going to add a little bit more color in the center of an area. I'm going to heat set that to really force some crackle and chippiness. With milk paint, you really need that second layer, or sometimes it won't crackle. We got some good crackle though. We got a lot of chippiness on the bottom, but that's because we forgot to prime that. That's a-okay. We're going to do some sanding here very carefully with a 220 grit sandpaper. I'm being extremely careful so I don't go down all the way to that bottom layer. It's all right if a little bit of the black comes through, but we don't need those purple and all crazy colors it started off with coming through. Now it's time for another layer. I'm forgetting at this point what layer this is. Maybe number 4. I watered down this like taupe color. This is a Alchemy brand. And I watered it down, mixed it up, and we're again going to work section at a time. I'm going to apply the watered down paint to a section, come in with a baby wipe and blot most of it off, but still leaving another gorgeous layer. And for our final layer, here is Fusion's Aging Wax. Y'all know I love this stuff. This is going to seal up that milk paint and just make the project complete. Just look how that ties all those layers together. Y'all, like, there is nothing better in life than this right here. It just makes me so happy. Look at the difference, and I cannot believe I just achieved this aged layer look. I am so pleased. Y'all let me know down below, do you think I achieved my inspiration picture for that paint finish? Oh, it is gorgeous. I am going to be doing this finish on another project soon because I am in love with how it came out. I priced our little birdhouse trinket shelf situation for $33. Our next project was a freebie. I had this little stool right here that was given to me at a yard sale. It's like a laminate MDF piece, but the legs are solid wood. I'm going to use my little squishy foam abrasive sanding pad here so I do not damage all these curved details as I'm scuff sanding the legs. I'm going to go ahead and give the rest of the piece a good scuff sand as well. We really need to add some micro texture to that laminate surface so we can get our next products to stick well. I'm going to remove these little weird tack pieces that were under this piece for some reason. But now I feel like is a very important step. I'm going to take shellac and I am going to seal the mess out of this MDF material because this is exposed. This is raw. If someone uses this as a plant stand and water gets on that area, it's going to cause some major damage. It's going to swell up and it's going to be a mess. So I primed the mess out of this piece, especially the underneath side, but I went ahead and gave everything else a good coat of shellac as well because we are going to be using milk paint, of course. This green color actually came from last week's project. The table I mixed a color and didn't really like it, or I just kind of envisioned a different green. This is that mixture. We need to get it used up because milk paint does not last. I've heard you can put it in the refrigerator and it lasts a couple days, but you really need to use it if you mix it up. But it is a gorgeous green and it's going to work great for this project. I did 2 coats on the legs, drying in between each coat. And then for the top, I had some leftover flour sack, equal mixtures, flour sack, and antique ironstone from another project that I'm going to get used up and paint the top of our little stool. I did 3 coats on the top, drying each layer with my heat gun. And looky at that gorgeous chippage right there. It chipped awesome. I had a friend come over and he was like, "Can I please chip this off?" And I said, "Do not touch that. That is good recording material." He wanted to so bad. We're going to go ahead and sand all that chippy paint off. Make sure there's no loose chips everywhere. We're going to distress the piece well. The top, I'm using the electric sander. When I get to the legs, I'm going to hand sand to distress the piece. We are going to be using a oldie but goodie IOD stamp. This is Mercantile and it is the Farmhouse stamp. I love this stamp. I haven't used it in a long time, but because I've kind of steered away from Farmhouse, but either way, I love this stamp. Used to be a favorite of mine. So I'm breaking it back out. We're using some green chalk paint to use the ticking stripe. I'm using a brayer to evenly ink up or paint up the back of the stamp and using a piece of plastic to transfer it to the top of my stool. Just going to hold with one hand, rub with the other, make sure you pick straight up. And definitely, if you're using paint on the back of your stamps, you need to make sure you clean them immediately. So I just used a baby wipe. I'm going to grab my other section. I removed the stamps that I didn't want on this sheet. So I'm just going to use the sheet it comes with. I like the layout. I'm just going to remove everything I don't want to use. I'm going to use some permanent black IOD ink on the back of this one. I'm going to get that centered, hover, and then fully commit. Try your best not to shift the stamp around. I like to hold with one hand, press with the other. I'll kind of peek under there, make sure it looks all right, and then I will pick it straight up. I'm going to add the date at the bottom because I had a little bit of a blank area, and this design is so awesome. And you could have guessed it, we're sealing this project up with some Fusion Agent Wax. I really love how this piece turned out. Y'all let me know what you think. I think I priced it for, was it 37? It's either 37 or 43. I know that sounds weird, but I price in 3s and 7s. So it's one of those. I'll put it on the screen if I can find out in the next day or two. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I love the age of it. It's just perfection. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed these projects. Be sure to let me know which one is your favorite down in the comments. Wanted to pop up here for just a second. I hope you have heard the exciting news. The 2026 summer IOD release is happening soon. I cannot wait for y'all to see these new designs. I'm hoping IOD has dropped the date, but I don't want to put that in this video just in case they haven't. But just keep your ears and eyes out because that information will be revealed very, very soon. Cannot wait for y'all to see one of the molds. Y'all are going to squeal. I know y'all are. Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you got any inspiration, give this video a like. Consider subscribing if you have not already. We are over 16,000 subscribers, y'all. Your support means so very much to me. And I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.